Tonight, the story of a Valley family dealing with heartache and loss. A lot of us don't like to talk about death. It can tear us apart, and saying goodbye to a loved one is often the hardest thing that any of us ever have to go through. But in this case, it was not only death, but also a betrayal of trust and traditions buried.
They say that a parent's work is never done. Most of us go through life never thinking about having to go through something like this. The unbearable, bring you to your knees kind of pain that only comes with having to bury your child.
And I think they owe us an apology.
For Cindy Carpenter and her husband, that pain is real and raw. 11 weeks ago, they had to bury their daughter, Chelsea, cancer taking her at just 33.
It's past anger. I don't know if it's anger. I'm mad, I'm hurt, I'm heartbroken, I'm everything.
Making their pain even worse, they were told they wouldn't be able to bury their daughter in the traditional Jewish manner.
So the ritual of Jewish burial includes three parts. Part one is the lowering of the casket. Part two includes the covering of the casket by the people attending the funeral. Part three is the ultimate covering, sometimes by the staff in the cemetery and sometimes by people who volunteer to stay there to complete that part.
While going through the worst 24 hours of their lives, making funeral plans for Chelsea, the Carpenters decided to purchase plots for their entire family.
We bought 5 plots for both of our daughters, our one daughter's husband, our son-in-law, and then Jim and I. We spent $50,000 that day.
Before they signed the contract, they were told that Paradise Memorial Gardens, which had recently been purchased by Messenger Funeral Homes, would no longer allow traditional Jewish burials. But Chelsea's funeral was scheduled for the next morning.
But we chose that because it was a beautiful place for our child to rest. It was a beautiful place. So would I choose someplace else knowing what I now know? I probably would have made another choice.
Rabbi Pinchas Halush of Congregation Beth Tefillah couldn't believe it.
Never. And I've done hundreds of funerals. I've officiated at hundreds of funerals here in the Valley, many cemeteries. I am going tomorrow to Los Angeles to officiate a funeral, also in a large cemetery. And I've officiated again in many funerals across the country too. And this has never happened to me.
No proper Jewish burial in a cemetery with a special section reserved for Jewish people? The rabbi called a former congregant, a lawyer, and within hours, the cemetery relented. The weeks went by, and slowly the Carpenters began the long process of healing and acceptance. But then on January 31st, just 11 weeks later, their second daughter, Courtney, passed. How could they go on, plan another funeral, less than 3 months after they buried their first daughter? How could it be? But once again, they found themselves begging the cemetery to allow them to bury their daughter according to Jewish law.
Not only did I have to deal with burying 2 children in such a short amount of time, for very different reasons, but they turned the knife. They turned the knife on me. And I think they owe us an apology. I don't know how you can make something right that didn't include a complete Jewish burial.
I reached out to Paradise Memorial Gardens and received this statement. We recognize that some of our recent safety policies do not fully align with certain religious traditions. However, these policies were implemented after careful consideration and reflect our responsibility to ensure the safety of all attendees on site at Paradise Memorial Gardens. No matter how hard the Carpenters and their rabbi fought, this time there would be no lowering of the coffin. Her parents, deprived of being able to see their daughter, finally at rest after a proper Jewish burial.
So we believe that every single human being has a combination of body and soul. The body and the soul work together in this lifetime to achieve the mission that they were sent to achieve in this world. When the soul leaves the body, it cannot rest fully until its counterpart is resting. And so we believe that the soul is hovering upon the grave, and only when it sees that the burial is completed, again, by lowering the casket, covering the casket fully, does the soul finally rest. So it is extremely important to fulfill that because it brings comfort to the soul. And knowing this, it also brings tremendous comfort to the family.
And for Cindy, who fought for her daughter Courtney for years because she had special needs, the fight isn't over.
What do you think she would say to you about this fight that you're fighting?
Courtney, go mom. Go mom, because I've done it all her life.
It's such a tragic situation. And again, technically, the cemetery did nothing illegal. But if you own a cemetery plot there and you want a Jewish burial, you should probably reach out directly to them.